If you want to get started with reading, but you don't know where to start, or you don't know what kind of books you would like reading, or you don't even know how to find books that you would like reading, but you know you want to read, in this video, I will break down all of those things and also explain to you the importance of reading and how it can and will benefit your life, with also some book recommendations. So first, how to find books that you actually like. This is one of the things that a lot of people struggle with when they're starting their journey. And I tell people, think of book reading as entertainment. I think a lot of people think of it as like a chore or like something that's more so homework. So they look at it different from a TV show. They look at it different from a movie, but that's actually how you should look at it. Because if those are forms of entertainment that you enjoy, then reading has to be something that you enjoy too when consuming those kind of books. So don't always assume, oh, you have to read books about self-help or self-growth all the time. You can do that, but as well, what kind of movies that you like? What kind of TV shows do you like? For me specifically, I love mystery movies and TV shows. I love thrillers. So I'm very much so into those kind of books. I also like things such as documentaries, right? Explaining about different scenarios, different people's lives. So I like autobiographies, I like biographies, memoirs, people explaining their life, especially when they're individuals that I may look up to, or let's say if I watch somebody in a TV show and I'm like, dang, I really like this person. Or if I grew up watching someone, I'm like, I want to hear about this point in their life. That's something I like. I also, like I said, like documentaries, different things. So I also like psychology books where they basically just break down different things. That is more on the nonfiction side, right? But it's something that I also like. So I think that's very imperative to think about. Don't just think, oh, I just have to read a book. Like when you're looking for books, look for things that you would already consume as entertainment. Don't just think of it as a chore, because those are the books that you're going to zip through and those are the books you're going to like. What messes up a lot of people is that they just read books because it's supposed to help them, and then they get a book that they don't like and then they convince themselves they don't like reading. That's like watching a movie that you don't like and convincing yourself you don't like no movies. You like movies, just not that one. Another thing I often tell people to do with a lot of things, TikTok it. Listen, you have to think of it as something you want to do. When you want to go to see a movie, when you want to go to a restaurant, when you want to do something, what do we all do? We TikTok it, we watch videos on it, we hear people's opinions, we go to the comments and see if other people like it. Do the same thing. I found amazing books on TikTok for the simple fact that I just search up so-and-so kind of book, comedy book, rom-com book, thriller book, mystery book, or popular whatever. There's some people pages who even more so that like I have read books that they recommended before. So much so every time like I'm looking for a book, I go to their page immediately, because it's like, okay, I already know this person likes the stuff that I like, so I'm more likely to like the kind of books and different things that they recommend. Now, when it comes to reading, one of the things that gets people is they feel like, okay, well, you know, I just feel like I get books and then I never read them. Think of it as kind of like a workout, right? So you're exercising your brain. You can't just say, okay, I want to start going to the gym, because you know you're going to have to get changed for the gym, go to the gym, get back from the gym, different things like that. So it's going to take time. So you're going to have to allot a certain amount of time to go to the gym to do this exercise. Think of the same thing too when you're exercising your brain with reading. Allot a certain time where you know you're not doing nothing. You're not going to put going to the gym when you know you have work. So don't do the same thing when it comes to reading. I think sometimes what people do is they try to find a little bit of free time. Oh, well, you know, when I'm at my desk, I'm usually not doing anything, so I can read there. On my lunch break, I'm not doing anything. That's a designated time in which you're already doing something else. That's a designated time in which you're working. That's a designated time in which you're eating. If you already have a designated slot for something, do not try to mix reading in with it. Try to have a certain amount of time in which you're not doing anything. There's nothing that you have to do, so you can read. Make time for reading. That's another thing that messes up a lot of people, is that they often get distracted. So much so that I even put my phone on do not disturb or put my phone on focus. And then it depends on how you want to do it. So you can do it to a certain extent of, let's say you're like, I want to read 10 pages a day, or maybe you're like, I want to read 5 pages a day, or maybe you're like, I want to read for 10 minutes, or maybe you're like, I want to read for 5 minutes. Figure out which works best for you, but allot a certain amount of time in which you know you are not doing anything when it comes to reading. Another thing when it comes to reading books, I often tell individuals that you can read more book than one. I think sometimes too, people always convince themselves that they have to read one book, but also think of it, like I said, it's entertainment. Think about it as a TV show. So there are times where I read all the time, not sometimes, I'm always reading 2 to 3 books that have to do with different genres. So right now I'm currently reading a psychology book, a mystery book, and an autobiography. Right? So they give me different things that I want, because also think of it as a TV show. You may particularly like one TV show, but then you're also going to watch another TV show, or maybe you've watched the whole season of this and you're like, I'm kind of tired of watching that show. I want to watch this kind of show. Do the same thing with your books. Like, I move around in books as well, right? This day or for this hour, I might read a certain amount. The next day I might read a different book. The next day I might read a different book. I kind of try to keep them in a shuffle and not go 2 to 3 days without reading a certain book. But that's another thing that I think individuals could benefit from. It's like, even think about it as a TV show. Even if you really liked the TV show, would you want to watch that TV show every single day? If it's really good, yeah, you might binge watch the first season, the second season, but is that the only thing that you're gonna watch? You might even get bored with it. If you're anything like me, I get bored easily if I watch a show too much, and then I don't want to watch it no more, because it's like I overly saturated my brain with the show. So sometimes that's also good for some people. Now, you might be able to speed through a book like this, but the next book you may not. It just depends, similar to a TV show. So I just often recommend people to have 2 to 3 books actually that you're reading at once that are 2 to 3 genres in which you would like, that are different from each other, so you can get different things so your brain is not essentially bored, because that can happen too, like what happens with TV and movies for a lot of us. Now, here are some of my recommendations, and these are for different categories, so it definitely just depends on what you like, but these are some of the ones that I like. So if you're thinking about self-growth and different things like that, 3 books I really like are Atomic Habits by James Clear. That's definitely one I would recommend. It's a book just talking about how different habits you can develop to help you in life, and he gives different examples. I really love that book. I would recommend that book to anyone and everyone. Another one is Think Like a Monk by Jay Shetty. This book more so has you think about a lot of the things that you do, and then why do you do those things, right? So why do you want to be rich? Why do you, speak the way that you speak, or do some of the things that you do, or even think the way that you think? So I definitely like that book. It's very intriguing. And then at the end of every chapter, another thing I like, he has practices that you can do on your own that can kind of get you kind of questioning yourself in a more interactive way, contrary to just reading. So that's another book that I like. And another one is 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. So this one is very much so a dense read. So it is I guess you could say the average amount of pages for a book. It's like 300 or something. That's kind of like the average for a lot of books that I read. So to each his own on the word average, but it's a very dense read because he's a very educated individual. So every single chapter is 1 rule for life. It's 12 chapters essentially. They can be a little long because, like I told you, it's 300 pages, but since he's very educated, some of the terminology he uses, some of the words he uses, they can be a lot, like on the brain. Because like I said before, reading is exercising the brain. And sometimes if you go to the gym and you do a weight that's like really heavy, the next day you're gonna be sore. So I can honestly say this is a book that like I was not able to just move through like I can with other books, for the simple fact that it's a lot on your brain. So this is honestly, when I first started with his book, is one of the first books I started with going to other books. Like I would have to go to a thriller book or a comedy book or something like that, because it was just such a dense read that it would just be overbearing. And sometimes I'll be like, I don't even want to read it all. Like that was just a very dense chapter. But I definitely will say you will learn a lot from it. So if you're first starting out reading, you might not want to do this, but if you have been reading for a little while, you're into self-growth and different things like that, I definitely recommend that book. Now, I told you guys I like psychology books. So one psychology book I would recommend is The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell. It just talks about how little things in society are actually what change society. We often think it's like the big things that, make things a big difference, such as dropping in crime rates or popular TV shows or popular trends that are going on. We often think it's like something big. And in this book, it talks about different cases in which it's actually something small that made the change. So I definitely like that book. And then 2 books that have to do with like mystery and thriller are, first, The Silent Patient by Alex Michael lies. It basically has to do with a woman who is convicted of killing her husband, and it's a very interesting book. I don't want to give up too much, but it's a very interesting book. It's definitely one of those books where the ending is like, what? Like what in the, like, it's one of those type endings. So I definitely would recommend that. I found it to be a very interesting read. And then another mystery book is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. So this book this definitely does give a little bit of like a young adult kind of book. So if you're one of those people that's like, I'm grown, I don't want none of that. But the reason why it kind of gives young adult is because it's from the perspective of a teenager, right? So the gist of the story is there's this young girl who's in high school. I think she's like a junior or senior. I don't know how old she is, but she's young. She's in high school, and she has to do a paper for her capstone, and she wants to do her paper on a missing girl in her town. And the girl who went missing is like very, like, the story's widely known because nothing really happens in the town. So it's a very widely known story, and she's just kind of investigating into the mystery of the girl, and just it's interesting. Like I said, it is kind of a young adult one because it is from the perspective of a teenage girl, but it also is one of those books where the ending is like a wow, like I thought that, but no, but what, but no, that makes no sense. And it's kind of like one of those books. So I definitely would recommend that. And those are just few of the books that I've read and I would recommend in different genres. Now, all in all, reading has a lot of benefits. I know I just told you about ways to get into reading and different things like that, so maybe you're already familiar with them. But if you're thinking, I kind of want to start reading, but I don't really know, it has a lot of benefits. Like, one thing I want you to realize is your brain is a muscle. The same way your arms, your legs, your everything is a muscle, and if you do not use it, you will lose it. I don't know if you ever heard that quote before, but it's the same exact thing. A lot of people don't realize that after school, a lot of us do not use our brain because we don't have tests, we don't have quizzes, we don't have to read things, and essentially your brain gets weak. And it leads to things such as mental health problems. It leads to things such as lacking creativity. It leads to things such as lacking memory for the simple fact that you're not using it, right? So your brain is not developing new neurons and different things like that. And I think a lot of people do not think of their brain like that. They think going to work, they think, all these little things that they're doing, just reading small things, really objective things, right? Little paragraphs and stuff like that is enough. It's not enough. And once you read, I think you will start understanding some of the benefits of it. Yes, you have to do it consistently, but it all makes you a better person all around. It makes you a more interesting person, right? Because you have more to talk about than just social media, than just what the common everyone knows. I definitely noticed that about myself. I have a lot more to talk about than just, I'm not trying to be funny, but I feel like sometimes the average person my age, because a lot of people that I know personally don't read. So like, it's but so much they can talk about that we don't all know about. So it makes you more interesting like that. It ups your vocabulary, right? Because you're learning new words. If you're not reading new things, then you're probably not learning new things. So you're probably saying the same thing over and over and over, just in different variations. So it teaches you new words. And all in all, it just helps exercise your brain. So it helps you think of new things. It helps with stress. It helps with creativity. A lot of times when it comes to things that are negative with our mental side, it's really because we simply have not exercised it in a while and we don't think of it like that. A perfect example of this, no offense, no shade, one of my best friend's older brother, he's probably like 27, 28. So he's not even really old, but he's older than us. In high school, he was a football player. He went to college for 4 years, football player, right? So he's really what you consider an athlete, played sports when he was little. Recently, he was playing basketball and he didn't even like fall on it or nothing. He just kind of like pivoted his leg and he tore something in his leg. Mind you, this is the individual who was an athlete for years, did one small move and essentially tore something in his leg like he was an old man. Now, a big reason for this is possibly because he has not used that muscle. He has not played sports since he was in college, which was essentially a while ago. So I say that to say, think about your brain the same way. Like your brain, oftentimes we get frustrated easily. Oftentimes we feel like we're lacking in our brain. We can't think of new things because you're not exercising it. You're not using it. It's imperative that you use your brain so that it can be useful to you, right? Because it's kind of like if you don't exercise it, it's not gonna have muscle. And if it doesn't have muscle, then it's gonna be very hard to use it. So all around, I do definitely recommend reading and getting into different kinds of books and different things like that. If you guys would like, comment below. I possibly can do like popular books of the month. Every month I can make a video talking about what are some books that I read the previous month that I like, and just giving a quick summary of it. Not enough so like y'all know what the book is, everything about the book, but just so you could be like, I think I want to read that book. I think I don't. So tell me if you guys would like that below. And also, if you guys have any book recommendations, comment those below, because I really do enjoy reading, but sometimes I'm not gonna lie, I'd be like, okay, is this a good book? Okay, is this a good book? And if you guys could tell me, I would feel more certain about it. So thank you guys so much, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.